Hi, Matt Bisogno here, and welcome to the 3-week challenge, part 1. In this challenge, our aims are twofold: fun and profit. The challenge is open to everyone, gold subscriber or not. Golders can obviously use everything, whereas free subscribers should use the races of the day and or the feature of the day. The key here is to take your time. It's not a race. This is about practice, a degree of trial and error, paper or small stake trading, and introducing good habits into your betting. I've broken it into 3 weeks, chunks really, as it takes as long as it takes, to allow each component to become familiar and understood before we move on to the next. Most of all, I hope you'll have fun with this and that it will provide an easily introduced framework to underpin your improved horse racing betting. Fun and profit, the GG's way. Okay, let's get to it. Part 1 today, which is race selection. Choosing the right races in which to bet is the cornerstone of successful punting. Everything follows from that. The right races are the ones where you know the most. Okay, so let's see where we know the most today. So your starting point is going to be the race cards menu page. Now I've got a free user account open here. You can see the yellow row representing a gold race, and there are a number of these each day. So even if you're a free subscriber, you've still got access to, let's just open up one of these, you've still got access to the gold features for some races. So for instance, on this race at Exeter, we've got full form, which is available for all races for free users, profiler, instant expert, the pace tab, and odds comparison, and a number of things, icons within the card as well. So those are on selected races. We also have this feature of the day each day, and on Thursdays that is instant expert for all races, which is great because there's a real depth of value in this tab. Obviously not in a novice's handicap chase when it's set up with the chase code, because they've hardly run, but with a bit more data in the window, there is plenty of insights from the instant expert. On Sunday and Monday, the pace information is free to all, and you can view that in the data or graphic view. And if it's a flat race, heat map as well, overlaying draw onto that. So some really useful insights there. The other thing, if you are a free subscriber, is sometimes the feature of the day, which can be found incidentally on your My GG's page, in this section here. It tells you what the features are. So Monday's pace, Sunday and Monday's pace, Tuesday the shortlist report, Wednesday trainer stats. Today I'm recording this, it's Wednesday. Thursday instant expert for all races. Friday the horses for courses report, and Saturday the superb trainer jockey combo report. So there's always something there to give you a leg up on the average punter, regardless of whether you're a paying or a free subscriber. So that's that. And just one other thing, if you are a free subscriber, in the report drop down, if it's a report day on feature of the day, you will see the relevant report highlighted here, trainer stats. And one final thing that I want to point out for free subscribers is that if you're looking at a flat race, which one will we look at? Let's have a look at this mile handicap here, 6:35. You can see that because this is not a race of the day, a number of the icons are greyed out. So this is you unfortunately you haven't got access to this information. You haven't got the trainer form icons or jockey form icons, and nor the ratings, but also not instant expert or pace or draw. But if the draw tab is there, and if you click on that, it does say this is example content. However, what we can do is the draw analyzer tool is a free tool. So too is the bet tracker, by the way. So one of the things that will improve your betting is by recording your bets and seeing where you're doing well and less well. So that's something that, as if you're a free subscriber or a gold subscriber, I would encourage you to have a look at that. If you've got an extra couple or 5 minutes each day to add your bets there, over time you'll get some real quality insights into how you're betting and what's working and what's not. But the focus here is the draw analyzer. So if I just open this in another tab, and we can see here, if I'm going to select Kempton. So this is obviously a bit more fiddly than just clicking on the tab and getting the data right there. But this is a mile 12 runner handicap. So I'm going to set that up as follows: a mile. I'm going to put it on actual draw, which I prefer. Standard to slow, always standard to slow at Kempton. Handicap, and that's me done. Oh, number of runners. So it's there are 12 runners in this race. We can see there. So I'm going to change that to be, say, 11 to 13. Okay, and what I've now got is, even though I'm a free user, I can still get the draw detail for the races. As I say, it is a little bit more fiddly, but you've got the information there, so that's very helpful. And I particularly with these bigger fields at Kempton, over a mile, we can see, if we look at, well, it doesn't really matter, but I like to look at percentage of rivals beaten. We can see that the win percent, that those at the front have got the best win percent, and those drawn high and weighted with have the worst, and that's kind of reflected in the place percentages as well, and also in the percentage of rivals beaten. This is a very low number here. So there's some good information there. If you can identify front runners at Kempton, generally you're going to do well, and you can get these data for all flat races, regardless of the track. It could be Hamilton Park, whatever. You can play with that if you're a free subscriber. So okay, let's go back to the start and race selection. We've got, on any given day, even here as we move into the autumn, we've got kind of 5 meetings and 6 to 8 races per meeting. So we've got between 30 and 40 races, and on Saturdays maybe even more than that. There's a lot of races. We obviously can't cover all that ground, so we need to do some arbitrary filtering, and then some more considered handcrafted filtering. In the arbitrary filtering space, what I tend to do, and it's up to you whether this is the right play for you or not. In actual fact, I'm going to go over to the this is a gold subscriber card. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select handicaps only, and in fact, why don't I do that with the compact view so you can see. I'm on tomorrow. Let's try that. There we go. So you can see, as I use these filters, you can see these number of races, the number of boxes, each one representing a race, diminishing. So if I select handicaps only, we've immediately got a more manageable sample, notwithstanding that that plenty of these races still won't be the ones we really want to focus on. I don't especially like very small fields, so I'm going to select a minimum number of runners of 8, and I don't want a huge number either, so I'm going to go, and this would be personal choice, and it will also depend on the number of races that you're left with, but we could go 8 to 10 or 8 to 11 or 8 to 12, whatever you like. 8 to 10 immediately gives us 5 races, so that's quite a nice way of very quickly shortlisting what we've got. And if I now go back by meeting, we can see these races, and we've got excuse me, we've got 3 at Ayr, handicap hurdle, another handicap hurdle, and a handicap chase, and 1 at Exeter, that novices limited handicap chase, which is one of the races of the day today. and a handicap at Kempton this evening as well. So in terms of the race selection component, what we, depending on how much time we've got, that might be it. We might say, right, we're gonna work with these 5 races. If you've got a little bit more time, then it's definitely worth looking at these races. And the things to look out for are, so let's look at the Kempton race first, because this is a nursery handicap. Remember I said at the start, the races that we want to bet in, the races that we want to work with, are the ones where we know the most. One of the problems with nursery handicaps, which are 2-year-old handicaps, is that plenty of the horses, or at least some of the horses, haven't run very much. So Mr. Trick, great name, has only run 3 times, and Let Me Live My Life and Razor Glass have only run twice each. And there's another one with just the 4 starts as well. So these horses are capable of significant improvement, and horses that are capable of significant improvement can kind of mess things up when we're looking at profiling. So I won't say I'd never look at a race like this, because 6 Furlongs at Kempton has got a strong pace advantage, so I might look at the pace setup to see if there was anything obviously going to step forward. And again, here we can see that they're all much of a muchness on known form. But a further fly in the ointment is that horses that have run, for instance, twice, may all of a sudden adopt a different run style first time in a handicap. So this is a race, what I'm basically saying is that this is a race where I don't know enough, and therefore I don't want to play it. So I'm going to ignore that Kempton race. I've now got 4. Let's go to this novices handicap chase. And again, this is a race where, if you remember, on the free version of this page, there's very little data in the profile window against the chase race code, because these are novices. So they've run in hurdle races. So if I put it on all National Hunt handicaps, you see there's more data. And if I put it on all, so all runs, handicap or non-handicap, you can see there's plenty of data. And what you can also see is there's a lot of green. And if I put it on the place view and all time, you can see there's just an enormous amount of green. And again, what that says to me is this race is too competitive. If we sort it by odds, you can see it's kind of 2-1 and then 4-1 bar. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 horses at 9-1 or shorter, and it's just a really competitive race. I mean, if I was forced to have a bet in here, and naturally I wouldn't be, but if I was, I might take a closer look at Manning Estate just because of his price and the amount of green that he's got in the window. But I haven't got to bet in this race, and so I'm not going to. So I've disqualified the Exeter race and the Kempton race. So I'm left with 3 at Ayr on which I want to focus. Now, before I do that, one of the things that I should have mentioned earlier is that I think it's quite important to, if you want to get ahead of other punters, if you want to improve your betting, it's all about what you know. And whilst plenty of things can't be known with certainty, they can be known with a degree of confidence. What I mean by that is how races will be run, what the going is, even what the race distance is with rail movements and things. But also, I think a key consideration is the weather. And so I always check the weather before I start looking at the racing, because what I want to know is, if the going is soft, is it going to be a dry day, a drying day, which could make the ground a bit sticky? Or is it going to be a wet day, which could make the ground heavy? And heavy is a setup that I like, because it's in all extremes, whether it's going, heavy or firm, or distance, 5 furlongs or 4 miles plus, or class, listed, class 1 races, pattern races, or field size, very small or very large fields. In those extremes, we tend to get specialists. So that's always, when I talk about setups, that those are setups that I look for in terms of characteristics. But with the weather, the best way to check this every day is if you have a Twitter account, and if you don't, I'd encourage you to get a Twitter account. You just follow who you want to follow, and you don't have to contribute. Just use it as a spectator, and obviously follow Gigi's at Gigi's_UK. And you will see on our feed each day, you will see the going, and not just the going. So this is today's going as I'm recording this, and air we can see is soft, banger is soft heavy in places, and so on. But we also publish a few notes for each track. So in the case of air, let's just open up this thread here. So if I open this thread here, you can see that air have got some slight distance amendments, just 50 odd yards, which is about a quarter of a furlong. It ought not to be material, but if you get beaten a short head by something that finishes past you, then you might think it is material. But what is material is the weather. That they're expecting rain through the day today, maybe nearly a centimetre, and it'd be quite windy as well. So it sounds like it'd be quite a gnarly day on the west coast of Scotland today. So they've got soft ground, and they're expecting a good bit more rain. That could make it heavy, and that's interesting to me. So I'm going to look at these races now with that in my mind. The first of them is the 12:35, a handicap hurdle, and it's got the right number of runners. It's got 9 runners with a non-runner come out. One of the things I'm looking for, again, as I spoke about with the 2-year-old races, I'm looking for horses that are either HC1 or HC2, and the reason I'm looking for these is because they can be expected to potentially improve more than the guys who are sort of 8 years old and have had 20 goes already. So this She's a Rocker is interesting. In actual fact, I bet this horse today, because I had it noted as an aside. I noted it was not ridden for all it was worth on its, as you can see there, on its mark qualifying novice run, and it stayed on quite well from the back to just outside the places. Runs in a handicap for the first time today, so that would be interesting. But anyway, the point is that HC1s and HC2s can often be expected to show improved form, whereas the horses that have had plenty of goes already, they kind of are what they are, and they're not obviously going to step forward massively. So in this race, we've got 9 runners. We've only got 1 handicap debutant. If we have a quick look at the instant expert, this is on the place view. I'm just going to put it on the win view. You can see that it doesn't look the most competitive of races, certainly in the win context. And this would be a race that I would potentially look at. Now again, you can see that She's a Rocker has got a line of zeros. That's because this is I set it up contextual to handicaps, and of course she is having her first start in a handicap, so they're all zeros. But I don't want to talk about which horse has got a chance. I'm just trying to find the races that I want to look at in more detail. So this 12:35 is a race that I would look at in more detail, whereas the Exeter and Kempton races are not. The 1:45 is a 2.5 mile handicap hurdle, 8 runners, nothing running for the first or second time in a handicap. They all look 6 years, they're all 6 and above, so kind of nice, hopefully nice exposed profiles. Does look competitive enough, certainly in the place view, but less so in the win view. But again, this is a race that I'd be interested in looking at. And finally, the 250 at Ayr. This is a handicap chase, 8 runners. all age 7 and above, all nice and exposed. Although some good horses. It's a Class 3 race, so it's a decent race, and we can see that it's an interesting profile. There's a 3 from 3 at the track there. So again, all three of these races do look reasonably competitive, which is not ideal in truth. What I like is a race where there's a couple that have the green, and most of the rest have a more amber or red profile. And if I had a little bit more time, and if you have a little bit more time, then maybe you look at all races, looking specifically for that kind of a setup. But I'm keen for the race selection stage of this 3-stage process to take very little time, and the fact that I'm blustering alongside it means it's much longer than it would actually take in reality. In reality, this wouldn't take 5 minutes. And maybe when you start, it takes 10 minutes. If you just use the filters at the top, it's going to take you 10 seconds. So that really is the race selection part. The whole point of it is to get from this situation where we've got 35 races to this situation where we've got a couple or 3 races upon which to focus, and we've looked at them very quickly, just a very cursory glance. We've said, right, that's a 2-year-old race. I don't know enough about that race. I've looked at this race. There quite a few of them are running for the first or second time in a chase race. I don't really know enough about that race. And then I've looked at these 3 at Ayr, and they all look more interesting. So I've gone from 35 races to 3 races in a few minutes, and then I'm ready to do my normal analysis or review of the races to try and find a bet or bets. And then when I've found the interesting horses, the potential value plays in the race, the final thing I need to do is decide how to bet that horse. And so in the next 2 steps in this 3-step challenge, we will look at shortlisting within the race, and then we'll look at how to work out what the optimal play might be from a betting perspective. So those are coming up in the following 2 weeks, but for now this is enough. I want you to, the challenge is to do this on a daily basis, to kind of go from the full set of races to a short list, check the weather, be aware, try and know as much as you can about what's going to happen today before you start. And then you're kind of armed with more information than most people. And it doesn't, if you use our Twitter feed and get this information here, and then if you use the shortlisting on the card, it's going to take you literally a couple of minutes to do that. And you'll go from this overwhelm of, oh my God, there's X races, there's double-digit races, to, right, I've got 3 races to work with. And then this week, once you've done your race shortlisting, please try to do this each time you're engaged in finding a bet. Once you've done that, then just crack on with your normal approach for this week. And then when we introduce step 2 next week, maybe think about introducing some of those components into your approach. Carry on making the bets as you will now. And then when we introduce step 3 in a couple of weeks' time, maybe think about how you're going to structure your play, whether you're going to have a win bet or an each way bet or a place bet or a 20/80, or you're going to Dutch 2 or 3 in a race or whatever. And we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about situations where one of those approaches will be better than the others perhaps, and where maybe it doesn't matter so much which way you go. That is for another day. This is more than enough for now. I hope this will be interesting to you. None of it is rocket science, and that's deliberate, because this processes are not rocket science generally. If they are, then they're a bit too convoluted or confusing. I think this should be to some degree accessible to everybody, and I hope you will get something out of it. Just one final footnote is, please remember, when you start using these filters at the top, remember to reset them, because otherwise you're going to be wondering why you've only got 4 races on the card today. So this reset button top right is very important if you've been using the filters. Don't forget that now. Okay, that's enough. This is Matt Bisogno saying I hope you enjoy this. Good luck with it, and goodbye for now.